Musings of a Modern Conservative. Short Essays on Various Political Topics by Thomas Hamilton. Section 3. Musings on Various Modern Political Topics. Essay 16. Traffic. Musings on Immigration. To become an American may be the greatest blessing and responsibility in as many centuries. Would many of us who are born here see it as such, though? Can those that are born here see the benefits? Can we see the responsibilities? Are they any more unique than any other citizen in the world? Has there ever been another country that has the, quote, dream? If there hasn't been, then wouldn't it be the responsibility of all citizens in this country to keep that dream alive? Wouldn't it be a sort of blessing to have had the opportunity to experience it? Should anyone be allowed to take away such a dream? Shouldn't those that have experienced it be of good mind and heart to allow others to experience it? Why then do we conservatives think that we have an immigration problem? I can find many other issues with our country, can't you? The question is this, though. Is it the immigrant that bothers us? Or is it something out of the immigrant's control that bothers us? Wouldn't the conservative be predisposed to just let everyone into our country? Aren't we conservatives more concerned with the countenance of character rather than the origin of the individual? Does the conservative seek to simply not let in individuals that are not conservative? I think that this is strange on face, as there is no real and meaningful way to tell. If not for the simple division of political association, then what is it about immigration that bothers the conservative? Could it be that some immigration happens without the consent of the people in this country? Could it be that some immigration happens illegally? I find this equally as hard to understand, as we as Americans, and not other entities, make our own laws, so I make laws that cause us to constrain the American dream. Is the American dream so fragile that if too many people experience it, suddenly it will explode? So what is immigration law used for? And what do they do for the American dream? In this essay, I will propose a possible solution to the immigration problem, not just for the purpose of advocacy, but also to allow the reader to muse on it and other possible solutions. To understand the solution to what we perceive as an immigration problem, we must first muse on the problem itself. Is there even an immigration problem? I cannot find a way that such a problem could exist other than sustainability issues. So if America can sustain immigrants, then there is no problem. The question is, rather than asking if we have an immigration problem, ask why can't we sustain more immigrants? My thoughts converge immediately to food. Do we have enough farmable land to feed our immigrant population and our citizens? I can't think of any argument that has been made that makes a reference to our limitation of farming capacities. If we are not at our farming capacities, then we have no problem here. Do we have a shelter issue? Is it that we are not allowing immigrants in our country because of a lack of land? I doubt that this is the case, as most of America is still not built on. So if land and food are not issues, then it has to be something else. What about work? While I do concede that at the time of these musings there are few jobs in America to be had, isn't it just as equally likely that the reason for not having jobs is not the fault of immigrants, that it is some outside force? Couldn't these immigrants be under the same hard times as other Americans? In other words, they would suffer just as much as any American, right? What of when the jobs return, though? Would we then allow these immigrants back? Do we remove immigrants when there are no jobs and then bring them back when the jobs are plentiful? If jobs are not plentiful, then would many want to immigrate here? I can find only one thing that would prevent the conservative from allowing their future Americans to come and live with us: the government. What part of the government, though, would prevent immigrants from coming here? The laws of a government can easily be changed, so what is the true chip on the conservative's shoulder? Is the American government providing something to someone who is not an American? Is the immigrant taking more from the government than they are putting in? I think this is the key to the conservatives' dislike for continued immigration, the continued loss of their labor and time without permission. There are a whole host of government programs that can be obtained that the conservative is less fond of because they remove the labor and time from one individual and give it to another. But such things can be justified to other Americans, but not to non-Americans. Though, there is another issue that I think agitates the conservative on face value, and that has nothing to do with spending or any other externality, and that is disregard for the laws of this country. The thought process for me goes something like this. If someone comes here illegally and knows that it is illegal, can this person be trusted to follow other laws? If they cannot be trusted to follow the laws of this country, wouldn't they then pose a danger to other citizens? If they do pose a danger to other citizens, isn't it the case that the government's main goal and responsibility is to protect its citizenry? Then, in order to protect its citizens, it would need to stop illegal immigrants. In other words, the American government ought to enforce its laws. Should we then trust those that have proven themselves untrustworthy by intentionally disobeying our laws? Should the government reward these individuals with assistance? Shouldn't the government protect its citizens from dishonesty and illegal activity? How should it do this in the case of illegal immigrants, though? It would seem simple to me. Simply offer no assistance to any illegal immigrant. Offer nothing. Don't let the children of illegal immigrants go to our public schools. Require background checks for automotive licenses. Offer all government assistance in English only. Make it difficult for an immigrant to be illegal. How about legal immigrants? Shouldn't they be helped? Obviously, a legal immigrant would already have proof of legal status, and therefore nothing would be denied to them. The real issue, then, is less about what to do in this case, and more about, is it the right thing to do? I think that this sort of behavior is brazenly unnecessary, although it is worth merit. It is in fact wrong to break the laws of a country, and moreover, it is nearly an invasion of another country. Why an invasion? Well, what if an armed individual came into the borders of this country in a military uniform, shot no one, and did nothing other than walk around? Would this be tolerated? What about thousands of such individuals, armed, dressed in uniform of their country, do nothing, bother no one, just walk around? Would that be tolerated? What then if only one of these individuals shot an American and killed that American? Would we expect our military to protect us? What then if all illegal immigrants were somehow made to wear military outfits, with or without armaments? Would the perception of illegal immigration stay the same? Then is illegal immigration a simple felony? Or is it a complete disregard for our sovereignty and a disregard for the right to govern ourselves? Everything in the aforementioned musing assumes that we must maintain the things the way they are. If everything that was mentioned seems less than acceptable, then why not change it? If we are to change it, what should such a change look like, though? In other words, what do we Americans want out of our immigrants? What do we Americans find reasonable? What do we Americans think is acceptable? I think the first concept that needs to change is the notion of Americanism. I think that Americans need to become proud of being American again, and anyone who wishes to be an American needs to be proud of themselves that they have become an American. Should someone choose to be an American, they should seek to blend and adapt their culture into ours. There are plenty of examples of this. While no one needs to lose their culture, it should be modified and blended with the American culture. If one wishes to be proud of their culture, then stay within that culture. But if one wishes to be part of the American culture, then they should be let in. I also might add that our culture enjoys sharing good ideas, from Chinese food, tacos, hamburgers, to gunpowder and jet engines. There is nothing more American than the acceptance of a good idea. So how do we let all of these good ideas in a modern global world? If most of the problems that a conservative has with immigration reform are with the use of taxes and the notion of illegality, then simply documenting everyone should solve both. Such a system would include a yearly registration process, say at the local DMV, a fee that gives money to the state and pays for the processing requirements of the local clerks. Wouldn't this then solve the illegal portion for those that are here illegally? This does seem simplistic at first glance, but it does get a bit more complicated. With this new pass, one must have a job. No one could get a driver's license that couldn't pass a driving exam in English, and these individuals wouldn't get any government assistance programs, such as welfare, Medicaid, Social Security, and so on. Next, make it a serious crime to be here without a visa. Say, 10 to 30 years in prison, and then automatic deportation and removal of all future visa and citizenship rights. Why so harsh? The penalty is a response to the crime. If anyone who wants to get a visa can, why shouldn't they? Unless they are here to hurt our citizens, then shouldn't they be punished severely, especially when given the easy opportunity to be a part of the American dream?